school's woodshop, located inside the FABLAB, is one of its most unique and valuable resources. Not only does it provide students with the opportunity to create beautifully crafted models, but it also prioritizes sustainability by maintaining a strong connection to the local landscape. But how does this work? What goes on behind the scenes? Let's find out.
One of the woodshop's most sustainable qualities is how it sources materials. Nearly all the wood comes from UVA sawmilling, a local initiative run by former UVA students that preserves and repurposes fallen trees, ones that are dead, diseased, or removed for construction. These logs are collected, sorted, air dried, and finished in a solar kiln before being delivered to the woodshop twice per semester. And the twice per semester minimizes transportation emissions while ensuring a steady local supply to the woodshop.
There are a few major outputs involved in the use phase and the end-of-life phase of the woodshop, such as sawdust emissions and waste. Sawdust is easily the largest output, and quantities are documented by the FABLAB management. The sawdust collection system is emptied once a month minimum, and the particles are often transferred into the air. While the workers do wear masks, this is still something to be concerned about, so the DEQ does come in within the EPA just to do an analysis to check for harmful concerns, but overall they normally don't come up with anything, but they still submit those numbers just to make sure. And the CNC router is something that also produces emissions, but for materials like foam. So this foam, when it's mixed into the CNC router, it gets with the sawdust and then they aren't able to recycle the sawdust. So that's one of the main sources of output and waste that the woodshop sees. So the filter for this is emptied about 5 to 7 years, and if there is a batch that has a lot of foam in it, they are unable to use that and recycle it, but when there is a batch that doesn't have a lot of foam in it, they can take it home and burn it and do other things with it. And it can also get recycled and reused for materials like wood shavings, so yeah. And then in terms of waste, most of the scraps of the wood or materials that people don't want are what are put into the trash cans. And around 8 to 10 large trash cans are what they take out about weekly. And with all of this waste, they tend to put it in a tarp. They try to avoid using a bag to put things away. And this is all put into the dumpster, mixed in with things from like the Fine Arts Cafe and the students in the A school. And sometimes these scraps are burned by members of the Fab Lab. And then the non-wood materials are recycled, which is a school-wide policy. And additionally, the free bin is then checked for unused pieces or unusable pieces, and then discarded and gone through so that they can make sure that what they're providing to students is very usable and good for them. So yeah, you can see the dust collection system over here, and all the tubes run into the Fab Lab, and then it gets dumped out every couple of months.
There's a lot of machines to go around. There are bandsaws, large hand saws, table saws, planners, jointers, sanders, and of course the dust collection system. The Fab Lab tries to purchase very high quality machines that can operate for a very long time, but an interesting thing about a lot of the machines in the Fab Lab is that they're bonded from the state, which means that the state will actually own the machines and track their value over time and then take them back once their value reaches low enough and resell them. This leads to machines being in the Fab Lab for about a decade. However, sanders and smaller machines like that are replaced and owned by the Fab Lab Woodshop, and they're replaced about 3 to 5 years.
Okay, this whole area attached to the woodshop is called the work court, and it's where the Fab Lab stores a lot of their large-scale materials. And the wood that is for student use gets put in the free bins, but it starts over here when UVA sawmilling comes in. They import the wood and they store it in this area, which are much larger pieces and aren't curated for student use yet. These are all pieces that they want to keep. The pieces that they don't want to keep are for the student use, and they eventually cut them down and put them into free tiles. So there's one in the Fab Lab which holds much smaller pieces, which we saw earlier. But there's also this one where the pieces are a lot larger. And then there's one over here where the pieces are also pretty large and narrow. And then there's one more over here. And they're also sorted by tree type, which is also very helpful for students. And this dumpster over here is the cardboard dumpster, which is where all of the used cardboard goes. But they hope that students will forage here and reuse the cardboard, which is why they have it here.
So overall, the UVA woodshop is a quite sustainable system, and part of that is due to its reliance on UVA sawmilling, which is pretty unique compared to other architecture programs. And so their motive to rely on locally sourced trees for stock to give them another purpose is quite sustainable. And since the wood is local, importation and transportation efforts aren't nearly as laborious as other systems might be. And this whole system is pretty much a completely closed loop, which is also very sustainable. The woodshop ultimately prioritizes giving students valuable experiences in craftsmanship and in a sustainable manner and connecting them to the native Charlottesville and Virginia landscape.